How are you? Great to see you,
Um,
Debbie, and everyone who is joining us today via live stream or watching this later on YouTube. My name is Andrew McGinley. I'm the Vice President for External Affairs here at the Committee of 70, and I am very happy to be joined by our good friend, Debbie Gross, the President and CEO of Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts. Debbie, great to see you.
Thanks, Andrew. So good to see you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on this, what seems quiet adjacent so far election day here in Philadelphia and across Pennsylvania. And one of the things that a lot of people are focused on in this election are judicial races. So you're the perfect guest to join us. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
So why don't we start at the beginning? For people who might not be aware or super familiar with Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts, can you talk to us about what your organization does and what role it plays, in terms of strengthening the judiciary, and moving Pennsylvania forward?
Thanks. So, Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts was created 35 years ago to get merit selection for judges as opposed to electing judges. That hasn't happened. And I really believe it hasn't happened because people don't understand the importance of the judiciary, the judicial system, the impact on their everyday lives. People, go to the polls. There's 20 names. How do they pick them? So they don't vote. We let the minority choose for majority. So PMC now has embarked on I'm going to say an education campaign.
Mhm.
We have a lot of programs talking about the judiciary, about navigating the court system, about our court system. We also have programs for students, high school and middle school students, for civics because they don't understand the three branches of government and what the judicial branch does and what it can't do, what it can and can't do. We even have a one-day law school for journalists to help them cover the courts.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
so our goal is to educate about the courts. We haven't given up on our merit selection. We believe that there is interest again, I will say, as you will see, I think, come November. But that's what PMC does.
So could you tell us a little bit about like what would need to change in order to
Mhm.
get us to merit selection? Like what's that process?
So that is a lengthy process, right? We need it. It is a requirement of a constitutional amendment
Okay.
or even a convention, but that convention hasn't happened in over 35 years.
Right.
So I think the constitutional amendment is a closer
Mhm.
achievement, and it's a proposed amendment that has to pass in two consecutive houses, two consecutive legislative sessions, I should say. And so then after it passes in two consecutive legislative sessions, that's quite a mouthful, it actually has to be on a ballot for the voters to decide. So it is not an easy process,
Right.
but we are one of 8 states that, elect our Supreme Court. And we're one of maybe 13 states that elect other appellate courts. So we are, as Pennsylvania has been in the past, we are, sort of an anomaly.
And not modern yet. So you got your work ahead of you.
Yes,
So why don't we do like our 1 minute law school? Um, what are some of the ways the court system really directs the everyday lives of Pennsylvanians? Because I think that's something that people struggle. They don't think, oh, well, I don't commit crimes. So like, what's the issue here? Why do I need to worry about this? So maybe that we could
sure.
start there.
So, the court talk addresses any kind of issue, right? The appellate courts handle cases about education. So, a couple of years ago, the Commonwealth Court issued an opinion noting or stating that the way we fund education in Pennsylvania is unconstitutional. Our court, our highest court, has addressed issues about voting, right? And election and the ballot and the mail-in ballot and what can and cannot be on the envelope. Our court has addressed serious family law issues. Recently, just addressed this presumption of paternity.
Mm.
Has addressed custody issues. Has addressed gun control rights. So it is a wide range of topics. I mean, all the way down to, for example, even, healthcare reform, right? Medicaid. There's just not an issue other than maybe a civil rights violation, but that our state Supreme Court and our appellate courts haven't addressed.
So helpful. So let's talk about today and about this election. How might the outcome of today's election sort of shape the composition and direction of Pennsylvania's courts moving forward?
So we have a number of I'll say entry-level court positions on the ballot
Hmm.
across the state. There are positions for the courts of common pleas in the counties across the state. There is a municipal court election in Philadelphia. There are magisterial district court judicial elections in the other counties. We also have, one seat that is up for election in the Commonwealth Court, one seat that is up for election in the Superior Court. And so um it, it uh, there these individual seats, right, and the appellate courts aren't going to change much. It's one seat. Commonwealth, the Superior Court has 15 judges. It's not gonna make that big a difference, but these are seats of courts that are very busy and really important. I mean, our Superior Court is actually the busiest court in the country.
Oh, wow.
um yeah, it has the most cases. It takes it doesn't have discretionary review like our Supreme Court, so everybody could file an appeal of a matter from the Court of Common Pleas to the Superior Court. They may not, have hearing on it. They may just issue a quick decision, but everybody, if they feel that they deserve an appeal, can take an appeal. Whereas in our Supreme Court, which right now there are no vacancies, I'm going to say in this election, so in the primary, they can decide what cases they want to take, and they usually decide based on whether they're important, they're precedential.
Yep. Huge. And we'll get into a little bit because I hope you are comfortable talking about the retention races a
Yeah.
little bit
And I
later.
and I
But
think
I know
and
we've
I think we should. Yes.
Yes. I know we've talked about like how the change could happen to get to merit selection, but why is it better? Why is a merit selection system better than our current elected judiciary?
So for a number of reasons. One is the fundraising part of a campaign, right? We were just in a school, and I went up to a kid and I said, "Pretend I'm running for a judge," and I shake your hand and I say, "Hi, I'm so and so. I'm running for judge. Will you support me?" The young person said, "Yes." I said, "Great. Will you contribute to my campaign?" I can't do that as a judge first, okay? But my campaign manager, who is sitting next to me, can do that. And and then what happens if I'm in front of that judge? Is there some kind of appearance of impropriety? I mean, the rules do allow a campaign committee to um, ask for money on behalf of a judge who's running it. We judicial elections are expensive, and that's the problem. I mean, a court of common pleas seat, the rumor has it, because have not run, okay, is anywhere from 300 to $500,000 for a court of common pleas seat. Our Supreme Court seat, okay, in our most recent Supreme Court seat vacancy was over $20 million. Let alone, the amount of time and
Yeah.
effort and marketing but then the other issue is these judges, people are voting on them with very little information because
Right.
the judges cannot answer questions on on a matter that would appear before them. So they can't say,
Could
well,
be any.
right. So you really can't find out that much about a judge. Fortunately, we have bar associations that do investigative commissions that make recommendations, which is exceedingly helpful. But it's still an intimidating process. So, people feel as though they can't. I mean, when we have spoken, not I'm when we've spoken to people, I'll say, I feel I'm a lawyer. I do my homework, but I get lots of phone calls on election day. Who should I vote for? How? Because people don't know how to do the research themselves.
We were with Kathy Jafari earlier today, and we talked about that exact issue. Just like
Right.
you can't know who all these people are.
No.
That's really, really helpful. So merit selection, that process would work, I imagine, similar to what we have at like the federal level, where the governor theoretically would make an appointment, they would get confirmed, something along those lines. Like they
Um,
in a different way.
Sort of, right? We would like to make the process a little less political,
Okay.
so have an independent nominating commission that would make a recommendation to the governor.
Okay.
And then the governor would have to pick. So maybe the commission would make a recommendation of three people. The governor would have to pick from a slate recommended by this independent nominating commission. And so maybe the governor decides they don't want that slate. The independent nominating commission would have to go back to the, square one. It would also be a really open and transparent process so that there would be a call for applications.
Mhm.
There would be interviews and public hearings. This so that this is something that is a open, people understand what's going on. We've been looking into this in greater detail. We could have in New Mexico, we have deans of a law school, we have a judge, a current Supreme Court judge sitting on the court. We have just a variety. We have non-lawyers sitting on this on this independent nominating commission, because it's important that everybody's opinion be considered in a transparent way.
Fantastic. So let's talk about the 100-pound elephant, or 100 million-pound elephant in the room,
Yeah.
retention races. There's been a lot of focus on judicial elections at the Supreme Court level. We saw a lot of attention paid to the Wisconsin races a couple months ago. Can we talk about retention and why it's so contentious this year?
So it's really
Typically
interesting.
talking about the Supreme Court level.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm going to take a step back. Retention elections were not supposed to be contentious, right? They were intended to be nonpartisan. So when we elect a candidate a judicial candidate initially for their initial term, yes, it is partisan. So that's why today we have primaries and we have people running on D's and R's. So that the term of a judge is 10 years, well, for most judges. And then the goal was to have a retention election, nonpartisan, 10 years later, to say, okay, yes or no, should this judge be retained? It also was so the judges wouldn't have to campaign for retention elections and wouldn't have to raise money while they're sitting as judges. Well, that has all, I'll say, fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
In 2015, 10 years ago, right, we had a presidential three seats available on our Supreme Court. We actually haven't had three seats at the same time in a very long time. I'm actually not sure when the last time we had it. Um, and the court changed drastically. It had been in 2015, I'm going to say, handling some scandals at the time. It was a
Okay.
little unorganized. We were not thought of as having a respectable Supreme Court, I'm going to say.
Mhm.
And now it's a completely different feeling, right? We have a remarkable court. We have seven justices who have extensive experience in being a judge, who have hold extensive hearings. They have a lot of interests that they are passionate about. Our Chief Justice focus on elder justice. Justice Doherty focuses on autism. I mean, we have a court that really is professional, but three of them are up for retention election in November.
And so when I'm a voter and I go in, I'll see, do you want to vote for this person for retention? Yes or no, basically, right? That's
Correct.
that's
That's all you'll see.
you don't see the party affiliation, you don't see anything along those
You
lines.
don't see where they come from. You don't see their county. You just see yes or no.
Crazy. So that's tough. So again, as we talked about earlier, the bar associations, the state bar and
Yep.
the Philly bar will provide some resources for voters on evaluating those candidates who are up for retention. But it's something that we'll be paying attention to and probably talking to you again about in November.
Yeah, and we will be having PMC with Committee of 70 and League of Women Voters will be having a fireside chat with the Supreme Court justices who will be up for retention election so that voters understand, or how, so that we can help voters understand what retention elections are, and they can make their own decision based on conversations with the justices.
Perfect. Wonderful. So, are there other big reforms that PMC is focused on the judiciary right now?
We are. We're working on jury service reform. So thank you,
Something we're
Andrew.
working on together. Yeah. Well,
Yes,
can you
we
talk a little
are.
bit about that?
So in a few different aspects. One is federal court and one is state court. So in federal court, we're embarking on a jury service outreach initiative with the federal court to get people to respond to summonses. We have worked on new flyers. We have focus groups. We're going to have some educational programming on it. Um, People aren't returning their jury summonses. They don't think that they don't have confidence in our judicial system, in our democracy, and they don't understand that the importance of their involvement and engagement in the system. Um, in state court, we Pennsylvania, once again, bottom level, have pay our jurors $9 a day. I mean, that's, yes, I know we have one of the lowest living wage salaries in Pennsylvania, hourly rates, but we also have
Much
one
more
of
than $9 a day.
right, but not much more exactly. So, not actually it's less than might be less than $9 a day, I think, for an hourly rate, but at least you get more than yes, $9 a day is significantly less than that. So we're working on trying to make some changes to jury service pay and other factors in Pennsylvania.
Wonderful. Well, if someone's listening and they want to get more information, what's the best place to go to stay up to date with what's happening with PMC?
Our website is www.pmconline.org.
Perfect. Well, it was great to see you. We appreciate it. Debbie admitted earlier she hasn't voted yet, so please make
I,
sure to
I'm
vote
I'm
today.
leaving from this
I
interview
have
and
my
going to
sticker as
vote
proof.
100%.
Well, it was great to see you and catch up, and thank you so much for all you do, and we love partnering with our friends over at Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts. So
Thank you. See you soon.
see you soon.
Bye-bye.